Okay, so we're on the second part of the task now, which is to create 5 original drum beats, meaning you're going to program them yourself now. So having done those other ones where you had to get them by ear, the transcribing, you learned a little bit about where kicks go and snares and the hi-hat and everything. So it's time to make 5 of our own. So you'll need to download the demo session that is underneath this video. It's called Lydian Drum Programming. Put it in the usual folder and open it up after this video. And what you'll see is this. So we've got 5 sections here, and they're each at different BPMs, so different tempos. And the idea is to create a beat in each one of these tempos with an individual drum kit. So there are 5 impacts open. However, the impacts are empty. So your job is to choose a kit from the presets or build your own kit using the browser, going into the individual one-shots and dragging them in. That's totally fine as well. However you want to do that. If you're going to do it that way, you got to make sure that you've got a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, a crash, any other drums you can think about, or equivalents of those things. They don't have to be exactly a real hi-hat. Something can take the place of a hi-hat. But easiest way to do it is just to pick some kits from in here, ones that you like. So try them out, play with them a little bit, find which one you like. Then you're going to take each section, and like before, you push Shift P, and that puts a loop around it. You set the loop. So don't move these around. Just leave them exactly where they are. These have different tempos. So there's actually a tempo map in this session that's causing these to be different tempos. If you see, these grid lines are this far apart, they're closer together here, they're further apart here, they're really far apart here. This has to do with the tempo that it's at. So it's important to not mess around with where these are, because that will displace the tempo and things will stop making sense. So the goal is this. You just take your first impact, go in, you pick a kit of some kind, whatever it is, and then you put a loop around it, make sure it's looping. And then probably what you'll want to do is turn on your metronome. So down here, which is the C key, or just clicking this, then you push play. And this will give you a sense of how fast that tempo is. Then you're going to start feeling out how you want your beat to be. So you can either play it on your keyboard itself with these keys. That kind of thing. Or you can come in and just double click and start drawing it in yourself down here on the MIDI editor. Either way, but there's a few parameters that are important to know. One is, just for these examples, just to get a sense of it, I would like you to have a kick drum on the first beat of every section. So start with a kick drum. Your snare should be on beats 2 and 4 of all these things, because that's just what's common. Now in the future, you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want, and I encourage you to experiment. But for this task, I want a kick on beat 1, and then snares always on beat 2 and 4. The kick doesn't need to be on beat 1 for every bar, just beat 1 of the first bar. Then on these other bars, you can do whatever you want. Changing the kick pattern is really what we're focusing on here. And depending on the tempo, you're going to do that in a different way. And depending on the drum sounds, you're going to do that in a different way. Then it's important to have some kind of element that is consistent, like a hi-hat. Eighth notes, quarter notes, 16th notes, whatever you feel. If you want to make some variations in that, perfect. The goal is just make a drum beat that fills up these 4 bars. That could loop twice, it could be different the whole time, depends on how you want to do it. Experiment, try out different kick patterns, but keep the snare on 2 and 4, and then have some other element going. Other than that, you can do whatever you want. You can add in extra drums, percussion, whatever is loaded into your impact kit is fine to be used. Once you've finished this and it loops well, you go over here, Shift P, do the same thing. Now this is at a different tempo, so it's going to cause you to think differently a little bit about how you want to space your drums out, where you're going to place your kick drums. Again, different tempo, different tempo, different tempo. And for each new tempo, use a new kit. Go in there, pick a new preset, all new drum sounds. So you have 5 separate things that will look somewhat like this. No, that's not going to do it for me, but you get the idea, like this, like this. So each down here, and this one's down here. So each impact kit relates to each loop section. So now you've transcribed drum beats and you've programmed 5 of your own drum beats at different tempos with different kinds of kits. You're well on your way to being able to program any kind of drum beat you want at that point. So that's all there is really to this task, is just making these drum beats. So go for that now, download the session, and then go ahead and progress on to the next section.